Hey guys, King of Charmanders here. So, with the unlimited power invested, actually I don't really have unlimited power, I'm just trolling you anyways, as you see here. Well, technically this isn't unlimited power, that's the next video, but for this video I give you Master League Classic. In other words, actually probably the only good idea Niantic's had in the past, like, what, 5 years since the game's been out, they actually put a limiter on XL Pokemon for the Master League. So you can use level 40 Pokemon instead of level 50 Pokemon. Sadly, you have one of three options. Die, or duck. And what I mean by that, die and die mean Master League and Master League Classic, Master League Limited by the way, or but I mean duck, I mean Element Cup. Because some of you just don't want to play the Element Cup. Some of you don't like sub 500 fast battle moves that basically end with, you know, cute little of cotton ball either charming you to death or a giant water chicken. The ducklet is what I'm talking about, and you die by it. But anyways, I will add, this is out of all three of these leagues, this video is about Master League Classic. I wanted to put this video out here because the meta actually kind of flipped a little bit due to one gigantic reason, and I'll show you guys in the upcoming slide. Anyways, as I always begin with every single video, please consider contributing to pvpoke.com. As you see here, again, this is going to be Master League Classic. In other words, only level 40 Pokemon are allowed. So you can't go Super Saiyan 4, but you can go Super Saiyan 3, which is... Actually, I don't know the power levels in between, but you know what? It's pretty... You know what? It's what it is. But Master League Classic did have a few changes, especially with Gible Community Day coming out and our legendary friend here, Yveltal. Anyways, without further ado, let's get started. Alrighty, so here we have Master League Classic. The league you either avoided like the plague or you hated the most, and for most of you, they actually kind of like phased out Ultra League, or not Ultra League, Master League, just because usually you have the Great League Alternate League, or in this case, their idea is a sub 500 league called the Element Cup. Now, if you dislike the Element Cup, you can go back to the land of Dialga, the land of the big dark metal, well, not Dialga, but anyways, as you see here, Groudon is still king, and there's a few limiters to why it's not essentially the most powerful, well, it's technically the most powerful mon, but there are a few basic mons actually, like, took over to where Groudon, actually, there's a lot of, like, counters to it now. Groudon used to be the most powerful mon for several reasons. It basically destroyed the entire Steel archetype. You could punch Togekiss to death, literally punch it to death. Like, Machine Gun Punch, or for those of you that know the G Gundam series, like, you know, well, actually, yeah, is it Machine Gun Punch? I don't know. It was the special move of that one dude from America. It's like, G Gundam's like this really cool. Anyways, enough about my anime tendencies. As you see here, you could Fire Punch Togekiss to death. Earthquake actually wipes out Giratina Altered, and you could take out Mewtwo. So if you could Earthquake through shields, or if you had a lot of energy, Groudon could essentially just wipe entire teams for you. Groudon and Double Steel was essentially one of the most powerful teams for a long time, and for good reason. It's because there wasn't nearly a lot that could stand down to the Steel archetype, except for basically now Yveltal and of course Groudon. So I mean not Groudon, Yveltal, and now you have things like Garchomp entering the meta, which could actually do a substantial amount of damage against Groudon. So, as you see here, Groudon is the most powerful lead and switch. That still doesn't change. It's still a great idea to lead or switch with it because, like I mentioned, if you are able to Earthquake through shields, Groudon is a monster. And, which is why it's kind of dirty. Well, technically, Niantic did you dirty like they do with us because they never fix lag anyways. Master League Premier actually isn't allowed. So it's Master League Classic and regular Master League. There's no Master Premier Cup this time around. Sorry! So you're gonna have to either deal, like I said, die, or duck. As far as overall, Melmetal is still very powerful as well. Melmetal is still able to do very well just because of its ability to take out Togekiss, Dialga, and of course Dragonite has increased in value just because of Dragonite's ability to take down both Kyogre as well as Groudon. As long as you don't get blizzarded by Kyogre, then you're pretty much okay. But Melmetal still does incredibly well, either as a shield breaker, or it's able to basically outright win the match with you. And if you have expert energy management, you can basically wipe out entire teams with Melmetal, Superpower, or Rock Slide. Lugia also took the reins as a rise in overall rankings, because Lugia is able to basically beat both Kyogre and Groudon, and with Sky Attack and Air Blast, it does heavy damage. Your big problem though, Dialga and Melmetal actually kill you. However, if you are able, well, the thing about Air Blast is that Air Blast actually can boost, so if Air Blast does boost, you could possibly just nuke a ton of things, so there is that chance with Air Blast. The only thing is, it takes forever. However, with the new Dragon Tail moveset, as you see here, why Lugia went up in value is literally because of Dragon Tail. With Dragon Tail basically means that with its buff that it doesn't get walled by Dialga anymore. You also are able to beat things like you can beat things like Dragonite, etc. just because of Dragon Tail. So yes, you can beat Dragonite with Dragon Tail, which is why Lugia rose up in value. Next are the two I'm going to talk about the most, is probably Yveltal and Garchomp. Thankfully, big steel dragons, the Dragon of Time, the Roar of Time, it's not really Back to the Future, but we're, well, hopefully not Back to the Future, because Dialga is still one of the most annoying mons of all time. It's putting that out there. It's still really freaking good. However, now we have Yveltal and Garchomp. Yveltal is incredibly powerful because of Snarl, Dark Pulse, and Focus Blast. Now, the thing about it is that it has such a great cover. It's like, I like to call it Hydreigon 2.0, just because it basically, with Focus Blast, you're able to take out the Steel archetype, which gave you a problem before, which gives Hydreigon a problem because it doesn't have coverage with that. Along with that, Yveltal is incredibly strong stat-wise. It's insanely powerful. And the only thing that's bad about it is that Togekiss. Literally, Togekiss kills you. Togekiss gives you... That's why if you have Yveltal, it's best used in the lead or the closer just to avoid Togekiss. You don't want to get locked into a Togekiss because you're going to die relatively fast. It also loses against anything that basically does heavy amounts of damage, which is why you lose against Kyogre, Dragonite, and Zekrom. It's not essential. Essentially, what happens is that the fast move damage does get to you just because Yveltal isn't really the bulkiest thing on Earth. Yveltal has a very high attack stat. It's one of the strongest, it's the strongest dark type in the game, and it's very, very powerful. Fortunately, Yveltal doesn't have a ton of bulk to take down monsters like Kyogre and Dragonite, which is why you die a lot against Dragonite. As you see here, Kyogre, you are able to win in the 2-shield. However, it's a pretty close matchup. As you see here, you are left with 8 HP and you have nothing left, and you have to, and basically, you have to Focus Blast. You have to Focus Blast. So, Yveltal has a lot of combinations. It wins in the 2-shield, so it's something to look out for. Now, with that being said, Yveltal is an incredibly powerful beast. However, again, like, you can beat it, like, it has the ability to beat a lot of things. Just because because it's glassy, that's also like a double-edged sword. In the 2-shield, though, that's why it's very powerful. As you see, it does beat Kyogre in the 2-shield. So, just keep that in mind. Yveltal is a powerful lead, and if you win lead, there's a lot of things you can do with it. But it's glassy. Garchomp is the other thing. A lot of you had Garchomp Community Day, Gible Community Day, and that actually came out really well for Garchomp users. As you see with Earth Power costs less than Earthquake and does a great amount of damage against things like Dialga, Melmetal, and Metagross. You can try Sand Tomb, but with Earth Power costs less energy and overall made Garchomp a little, not too much stronger than it was before, but it made it to where it rose in ranking. With Outrage, you are able to take out Dragonites. You are also able to do a ton of damage against other things you wouldn't, like, that would resist Earth Power. Like, Earth Power, let's see. Yeah, like, well, you're not going to see Grass types in Master League, but just putting that out there. But with Outrage, is able to hit things like Giratina Origins, which have a really strong matchup, or cover the Steel types, which... Basically, because of Garchomp's upgrade and Yveltal as well as Lugia running around, that means, or mainly Groudon, to be honest with you, that means Steel types aren't the most dominant force in the world anymore, which is really good, because back in Season 1, for those of you who weren't there back in the day, those weren't some great times, and Dialga is no longer the king of destruction, which is good, because frickin' Dialga, man. Frickin' Dialga. I mean, a lot of my strategies in Season 1 for my anti-meta team really targeted Dialga, however, still, forget this. Screw this thing! Alright, now I'm going to go a little faster between lead switches and closers. There are a couple of options here that did go up just because of kind of things rolling around in Yveltal's rise. As you see, Groudon is still the most powerful lead and switch. Ho-Oh, however, has taken a rise in the rankings because Ho-Oh with Incinerate is incredibly powerful. Defeats Togekiss and Dialga, and it also beats Groudon. You might actually technically wall Groudon. You might see a rise of Togekiss or Kyogre running the lead just because of the fact Yveltal exists. And of course, Togekiss, just because Togekiss does beat Groudon, it also destroys Yveltal. So there's a kind of a shift, but it's like, you know, Master League is really oppressive, just to put that out there. Shadow Snorlax rose out of a prominence, which is very well, it's actually factual, just because with the Snorlax can straight body slam Togekiss to death in the 2-shield. It can also basically wall Giratina O, and it has an incredibly powerful match against things like Melmetal, Metagross, etc. Just because it covers so many combinations, which is why Shadow Snorlax is one of the most powerful leads now. Fortunately, it's not really that cheap. Shadow Snorlax is really expensive, and to find a perfect one, or essentially close to perfect as possible as a Shadow version, is a pain in the butt. So probably won't see him running around. Your biggest changes are probably going to be, like I said, Yveltal as far as leads go. Yveltal is a powerful lead, and it does do some good damage. It does basically essentially flip the meta a little bit around. You'll see a lot more Kyogres, Togekisses, and Dragonites. That's probably my prediction. If you haven't seen them before already, they're probably going to be a lot more prominent now. So just keep in mind that, if you thought Master League was annoying, adding this thing around, it's pretty annoying if you don't have an answer against Yveltal or if you lose lead, because it's incredibly powerful closer. And just basically all the other rounds. Mewtwo is still very strong, so oldies but goodies are still strong, like Dragonite, Dialga. Mewtwo is very powerful, so still old mons that you were relevant before are still very strong in this newer meta with Yveltal. Alright, next up we got safe switches. So if you're still using Groudon, safe switch is still really good, and this is what I mean by oldies are still goodies, because Mewtwo is still really freaking strong. The monster of Gen 1, you know, the one that blew up in Team Rocket's lab, and for some odd reason, Niantic had to go over. Well, actually, I'm pretty sure it wasn't Niantic, but Pokemon Company went overboard, and they put Mewtwo with new armor instead of giving it, you know, the old OG armor that we liked. You know, it's really cool when Mewtwo looks like it did before, instead of trying to make it like a Transformer or like a Gundam or something like that, and literally cover its entire being with armor. So yeah, that's just my rant about armored Mewtwo. Anyways, Mewtwo is still really good. Side Strike and Focus Blast is your preferred moveset for Mewtwo. I popularized that strat all the way back in Season 1, but you know what? No one needs to know about that. As you see here, Mewtwo is still very strong. Lugia is also, if you believe it or not, is also a really good save switch. It's all because of Dragon Tail. As you see here, you don't have a bad matchup against Togekiss, so that's why it's so good. If you're able to Aero Blast through shields too, it does a ton of damage. As you see here against Togekiss, Lugia actually does really well even with Dragon Tail, just going straight, literally just going straight Sky Attack just because of its ability, just because of it's so tanky. So Lugia is really good. So Lugia as a safe switch has some prominence. Keep in mind that unless Mewtwo, well, if you're facing Mewtwo, which is another thing too. So if you're facing Mewtwo, as you see here, so Mewtwo, if you don't have Shadow Ball, Lugia wins. So as you see here, so Dragon Tail literally gave it a huge shot in like value if you have a Dragon Tail Lugia, just because Dragon Tail got buffed. So it did matter. And in 2-shield scenarios, you'll still win against Mewtwo too, even though it's running Shadow Ball. Yes, an entire Lugia can tank a Shadow Ball. So again, this is why Lugia has risen in prominence as a safe switch. Lugia can also beat things like Giratina Origins just because, the keywords can. As you see here, if you do get the 2-shield against Giratina, it's kind of rough, but yeah, it's actually it's pretty rough. But you can leave it. You'll still live, or not. Keep in mind, you could still do some plays in the zeros. That's why in the closer, just because as you see, Dragon Tail damage. So Dragon Tail, it can do well. The keywords can. But other than that, thanks to Dragon Tail, you're able to beat Dragonite, Groudon, Kyogre. It's pretty nuts just how Dragon Tail's buff makes Lugia one of the most powerful mons in Master League now. So it's pretty nuts. Alright, now as far as closers go, this is why I was talking about Yveltal so much. Now you're probably not going to find a Shadow Mamoswine. Shadow Mamoswine's the #1 closer just because of, it's kind of hilarious actually. Just because it pretty much nukes most of everything and the shadow damage matters. And it actually nukes Yveltal to death. So Yveltal doesn't like Mamoswine. Yveltal is also a very powerful closer. If you saw when we saw the overall stats, Yveltal is basically able, well, just because it's able to nuke Dialga, Melmetal. You're also able to flip a couple of weak matchups. Not Togekiss, but you're able to basically destroy Kyogre in the zeros. And of course, you destroy all the Psychic types, which is Lugia and Mewtwo. Zekrom is still really good with Wild Charge, so if you're used to using Wild Charge stats, it can still work really, really well, just because Zekrom is able to nuke Yveltal, and it still really does well against a lot of general things. Except for Groudon. Groudon doesn't like you. And Garchomp. So Garchomp, Landorus actually used to be one of the most powerful ones. The incarnate version was actually like a lot higher, but Garchomp with Earth Power is actually better. As you see here, Garchomp with Earth Power and Outrage is able to take out a ton of things, with your biggest problem probably being Togekiss. So if you have Energy Lead, you could possibly take out things like Groudon and Mewtwo, etc. Keywords possibly, but you're not going to be able to take out a Togekiss. So you might see a lot of Togekiss running around, just because Togekiss beats Dragons, it also beats Yveltal. So I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a rise of Togekiss. Other than that, the good thing is Dialga has taken a huge hit as far as closing ability though. Dialga used to be the most powerful switch, and basically 90s across the board. So the good thing is it's no longer, just because of the way things panned out. But it just goes to show you that Yveltal and Garchomp really do kind of, like, it's good that you probably have them. Or you probably have a Garchomp if you don't want to play Element Cup. Like I said, Garchomp is probably a good option for you to use in Open Master League, well, Master League Classic to be exact. And that's GG's. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I did a lot more highlighting on the newer Pokemon rather than analyzing the old meta, just because it's good to know just to know a little bit of, hey, the few changes like Lugia, Yveltal. Garchomp wasn't this powerful because of Earth Power, but because of Earth Power, it does allow you to get to its nuke move a lot quicker, so that's why it rose up the rankings. Old Pokemon like Ho-Oh, Mewtwo, etc. still work very well. If you had a team you were used to using before, I would give it a shot again and just try to adapt to the newer meta. But if you do find yourself getting ran over by Yveltals, Garchomps nuking you to death, etc., then it might be time for a team change. The meta did flip quite a bit from a steel-dominant meta since Groudon did come out. However, the interesting thing is, there's also things nowadays that actually give Groudon a hard time, i.e. Lugia and also Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh effectively walls Groudon, so it's a very, Ho-Oh can be a very good mon just because Ho-Oh is able to beat Charmers. Ho-Oh is also able to defeat Groudon. Of course, Kyogre leads are gonna be plentiful just because Kyogre is very strong against a lot of different combinations. It beats Yveltal, it beats Groudon, it beats Togekiss in the 2-shield, and of course it also beats Ho-Oh. Dragonites, you could probably see a rise of Dragonite if you haven't played it before, if you haven't seen so before in previous Master Leagues, just because Dragonite's able to beat Garchomp. Dragonites with Dragon Breath is also able to give a whole lot of different combinations a problem. That doesn't mean you won't see Dialgas go away. Dialga is still an extremely powerful mon, and it's able to do a lot of damage to a ton of the meta. Just because, but Dialga, there are answers to Dialga, so just keep in mind that Dialga may not be the king of Master League anymore, but you're probably going to still see it around a lot. There was a little bit, it did flip quite a bit just because of the patterns I mentioned before. So Master League is kind of, I mean, if you want to go for Master League Classic, it's totally up to you. However, if you don't want to have to deal with all that nonsense, I would give Element Cup a try at least. Yes, you're used to Master League, and yes, Element Cup is going to be kind of a nightmare, but it's better to play Element Cup than to get oppressed and destroyed by a whole bunch of people who have obviously spent a whole lot of money on Lugias, Yveltals, or have those Dialgas, Garchomps, Ho-Ohs already ready for Master League. So really, depending on what you want to do, it's pick your poison. Anyways, I do appreciate your guys' support. Again, I'm going to be doing the Master League level 50, so unlimited analysis as well, releasing tomorrow. I wanted to give you a little glimpse of Master League because it did flip a little bit, and with the Dragon Tail debuff, it did kind of change things a little bit as far as Lugia's inception into Master League meta. It was already good with Air Blast, but Dragon Tail just gave it the extra oomph it needed to be really, really good in Open Master League, and even in Masters, like level 50 Master Leagues, it could be really good. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. I'm almost at 2K subs. for all of you that are already subscribed, I really do appreciate y'all. And hopefully, if you are looking for Master League, this video does help you out a little bit of what to look out for Master League Classic. Again, I really do appreciate the support. I'm almost at my 2K sub goal, so I really do appreciate you, and it's totally free if you would like to subscribe. So, for those of you that are subscribed, I really do appreciate you guys. Thank you for all the support, and from 2,000 to the moon, you know, like Dogecoin, we're gonna keep on going. But if you would like to, please consider subscribing. All you have to do is put your mouse at the bottom right. You see that little box that says subscribe? If you put your mouse over it, it will pop up, it will not pop like Power Punch, I mean like pop up a tab that says subscribe, and you can easily subscribe doing that. Again, I really do appreciate it. It's totally free and helps out the channel for the long run. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully it helps you guys out that are considering Master League Classic instead of the Element Cup, because there are a few changes. Don't be surprised if you see Togekiss running around like a madman, or why the heck is there a bunch of Free Willy whales in the lead. Good luck in your Go Battle League sets, and I will see you guys on the next video.
Ja!